Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So at least now we have a sign up page here. Let me click on that. Okay, so we have that. Let me change this from Udemy app to Udemy. What can we call it? Let's go to core. Let's go to config. So app name Udemy Academy, maybe something like that. Or Udemy clone. So you can rename it to whatever you want. Okay, so what we want here is to be able to sign a user app. So what we need to do is collect this data. Let's try and collect this information and see how that goes. So I'm going to go back to the view. Let's deal with the view for now. So that's the sign up view. So let's see what okay, so we have this input here. Now, since this is based on Bootstrap, so as you can see here, there's a column 12 for each of these inputs. Okay, so there's a div with column 12 there. What column 12 says is that I want this input to go all the way through the width like this, because in Bootstrap there are 12 columns. So if, for example, on first name here, I tell it that I want it to cover 6 columns instead, it will mean this first name will be half, like this. So if I want this last name to be here and share the space, I would simply give it a 6 as well, so it will be forced to go to the other side like this. Okay, so at least like this, we can share first name, last name, email. I did that because I wanted space for password confirm as well. So email, username, maybe we can do that as well. Why does this, shouldn't this be email? Let's check this out. Okay, so that one has email. Username has an @ symbol, but looks like this should be email. But anyway, that's not a problem. Let's do the same thing here. Let's put a 6 and a 6 over there. Okay, so let's refresh, and there we go. So maybe not enough space here, but at least we can get enough space to put something down there. So what I'll do is I may want to just enlarge the whole thing here. So let me see what's causing. There could be a column thingy here for the whole card. I think this is the one right here. So let's see, card title. Okay, so I don't see where this is coming from. So let me just try to remove the card class there and see what happens. Okay, so that's not what's keeping the thing in the center there, or small. Anyway, we can leave it for now. We'll deal with it later. Let's not waste time on that. So what I want to do is put the placeholder here. Where is this username? There is, I don't know why it's showing me. Maybe it's because of the name, username. Okay, why it's doing this is I think these are saved on my system. That's what's going on. Okay, so once I do that, then I can duplicate the password now. Let me do a duplication like this, so that we can have password, retype password here. And then your password, that's the ID, name, password, I'll call it retype underscore password. That would be the name of this one. That name is password, that's username, that name is email, that's good. Last name, first name. Okay, so things are going as intended. So let me refresh, and there we go. Okay, so we do have first name, last name, email, username, password, and then agree to accept. So let's give that one a name as well. Where is this? It's got a value. Name is terms. Okay, so this is all good. So what will happen now is we need to make sure this is inside a form so that when we submit, it's going to go somewhere. So I'm going to try and search for a form. So there's a closing form tag, which means there's probably an opening form tag as well. So let's check right at the top here. So there we go. So there, no validate. Okay, so from here what I want to do is just make sure that the method is equal to post, because otherwise we won't be able to post anything. Okay, so from this is fine. We have everything we need for our login page. Now I just want to see the information that it actually sends to the server once we hit the sign up button. So create account is a type submit, so that's good. Now what I need to do is I can go to the controllers and then go to the sign up page. And from here I want to, because we're going to end up here eventually, so what I want to do is just use the show function that we created and just to display to me what's inside the post variable. So if I do that now and refresh the page, you see that it shows me an empty array. And then if I hit create, oh wait a minute, so please enter your first name, please enter your last name. Okay, so there's some validation going on here, which is nice. Now the thing is, this validation right here can be bypassed because the user just simply needs to right click, inspect element or view page source, and then they can just edit what's here and what it can do if they don't like it. So we needn't rely on this validation. So what we'll do is we need to turn this validation off, and then I thought it says no validate here. We need to turn it off so that we can send information. Oh, so it's no validate right there. That's how that works. Okay, cool. So what we will do is let's select all required here. Okay, and then just put a 1 at the end. So just put right arrow key and put a 1 at the end of each required so that it's no longer the text required. Now if I click, it will submit even with empty values. So as you can see, there we go. We will switch that back on just because it helps. And yeah, so things are good here. So we have a password here that comes in directly. We have an email that's for some reason is there in the defaults. I should remove these saved passwords and the like. But let's create our own validation from the side of the on PHP side, because that file is going to be on the server. So no matter what they do, if they manipulate this folder locally, it doesn't matter. As long as they submit, they're going to have to deal with this validation process. Now, one way to do this validation is to start doing it right here, do the validation and all that, but it doesn't make for very neat code. Okay, so what I want to do instead is, we know this is a user that we're creating, right? So what would be nice is to create a user's let's create a user's model that will handle that, because that's a user's table that we're going to insert into. So what I want here is to go to my database. So I type localhost/phpMyAdmin, and then I can now go to my database, which is Udemy DB, click on it, and we have a users table. Let's go to the table structure here, click on structure. Now, as you can see here, we do have email, password, date, but there are a few things missing. For example, first name and last name in this case. Okay, So first name and last name. So we want to add a few more. So I'm just going to add some columns here, right? So I'll select, I want to add first name, last name, and let me hit go. So here I'm going to say first name. Now it's important here to maintain a standard, because we can have first name with an underscore between the two or not. So that's up to us to do. So just make sure that everything is reflective exactly the same. Otherwise, I've had people that are complaining that it's saying unknown key or something like that. It's because maybe here you write first name like this, and then in the database it's like that. So just be careful with those. These will be variable characters. I think 30 characters per name is fine. And then let's hit save. Now we need a first name and last name, so let's not select the no value. Okay, so this is one way to do things now, but remember that we did something here. Let me go to the controller. Wait, that wasn't the controller, that was the app. No. Wait, how many things did I make here? Database, actually. Sorry about that. Okay, so the database has create tables. So it's much better to update this one so that we can easily create the table than updating the one in PHP My Admin. So what I'll do instead is I'll just duplicate this 2 times like this, and then I'll leave that not null. That's fine. So what I'll do is I'll change this one to first name and then this one to last name, and then put 30 on both of these like that. And just like that, we've updated what our thing can do. Now we need one more thing here maybe after password here. We're going to need a row. Okay, so row is very important because we need to know what role somebody is playing. Are they an admin? Are they a lecturer or instructor? Are they a student? So that's important. So here we're going to put wait, row. Okay, cool. So variable character. Row won't be very long, so maybe we can put 20 characters like that. It depends on what's the longest row you're going to add there. And also you can add a key here if you want to any of these. For example, we excuse me, we may want to search by username or first name and last name. So I can duplicate these two and just add first name here and then last name key there as well. So we add a key if we're going to be using that thing to read inside a query, that column, so to speak. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we can run this create tables and then get some tables running. So what I would do is I'll just go back to my database here so that things are in order. Drop this table. I'll drop that. So we don't have a table anymore, but what I can do is on the home controller, I can use any of these just to run this code. So here I will say, okay, we are on the sign up page, so let's use that. Here I'm going to say db is equal to new database, so we can instantiate the database class. And then right there we call the create tables function. Yeah, we just need that once and the table shall be created. So if I refresh here and come back to the tables here, I'll find the users table has been created with the extra stuff that we asked for. Okay, so that was temporal code, so we can remove it. All right, now we have a viable table there, a users table. So we can start adding information. So first of all, like I said, we need to validate something. So what I'm going to do is, let's create a model that will do that. So I'm going to right click on models here and new file. Now, like I said, a model is just a class, just like one of these files, which is a class that enables us to connect to the database. So this one is the users model. Let's call it a model, but it's just a class. So capital U user.php. Now, if you want to differentiate between controllers and models, you can say user.model.php. That's entirely up to you, but I'm going to leave it as user.php. Now, it may actually become necessary to write them as user.model.php, because there will be times when the controller class collides with this one here. Actually, that won't make a difference really, because the file name doesn't matter. The actual class name is really what matters when it comes to colliding. So I guess we can leave it like this. So user.php in the models. So if you notice, it's not plural, it's just single. So user.php, and then sometimes, because we want to use this to guess what the table name is, if the model is user, the table name should be users or something like that. So just keep whatever naming convention you come up with, just keep that with all of your models. So here what I'll do is I'm going to say user. Now this for now does not need to extend the controller. We will extend another model, but for now let's remove that. Okay, and in here we don't need the index function because this is not really a controller. What I really want is a validate function so that I can validate some stuff. So say validate like this, and this will not show a view. It doesn't extend controller anyway, so it can't run this function to begin with. So there we go. Okay, so in the model, let's do some things to make things easier. What I want first of all is I don't want to be typing queries when I'm loading or when I'm reading and writing information, if I can avoid it. So to make things easier for the class or the model, it has to know what table it's supposed to target. So what we will do is here we can just put a public variable called table and say is equal to, and then we're going to say users like that. Okay, now since we're never going to use this table name outside of this, let's protect it. Let's just say protected like that. Okay, so we'll say protected variable. So this is how you put a variable that will be available to all the functions that are inside this class. So that's why I've put the variable here, so that any of these functions has access to it. Even outside the class, we can have access to this if we wanted. But for now, we won't. That's why we've protected it like that. So we want the validate function. Now a validate function should do two things. It should tell us if everything went well, or if it didn't, we should get back some errors. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put errors over here and just set these errors to an empty array like so that we can push in any errors that we get over there from the validation. And then if everything goes well for the validation, ideally we're going to return a true statement, or if things don't go well, we return false like that. Okay, so return false. If things go well, return true. Yeah, so at this point we're just going to ask the if statement, if this errors. So let me put errors here as plural because there will be many errors in here. If empty, so let's use empty here. Now empty checks to see if a variable exists first of all, and then if a variable is equal to 0, it's considered empty. If it's an array but it's equal to an empty array, then it's empty. If it's a string and it's an empty string, it's empty. So it does a lot of checking. That's why I like to use it, including whether a variable exists or not, so we won't get any errors. But the reason we're using this is because we're telling it that the errors variable we're looking at is this one. So we check if it is empty, it means everything went well, we didn't get any errors. So at this point, I will return true, like that. So simple and straightforward, right? Now at the beginning here, these values can linger on if once you instantiate a class. So every time we want to validate, it's better to start by setting this to an empty array, like so. Okay, so when we are validating, we set this to an empty array, and then we'll do some if statements in between here. If we find any errors, we'll add them to this, and then check here to see, is it empty? If it's empty, then there are no errors, return true. Otherwise, we'll get to this point and return false, which means things didn't go well. But we need some data to evaluate as well. So let's pass in a value called data from there, which will represent the post variable in this case. All right, pretty simple here. Cool. So let's come back in the next video and see how we can use this user class to do things.